spend a Saturday morning with me making a couple easy sourdough discard recipes, a big weekend breakfast, checking a couple things off of my nesting to-do list, and I will give you an update on where we're at with our basement cold room project. I also want to thank Wild for partnering with me for this video. They have a special discount for Hopewell Heights subscribers, so check that out. It is linked in the description. This morning I am making a family favorite for breakfast. I'm making biscuits and gravy and fried potatoes and eggs, and I'm going to make sourdough discard biscuits, so this works out really well because I have a lot of starter. So I will use up an entire cup of this inactive sourdough starter. That's what sourdough discard is. It's just inactive starter. So, really, I guess it's only discard. Like, you want to get rid of it because it's not active when you're establishing your starter. But once your starter is established, discard is just inactive starter. By the way, those are blue marshmallows. If you've been watching the last few weeks' videos, we've been dyeing everything with like purple sweet potato powder, beet powder, and those are my homemade marshmallows that we dyed blue. It was kind of fun. But back to sourdough discard. So, my sourdough starter is mature, it's established. So, discard is just starter that hasn't been fed. It just needs to be fed. But there's a lot of it in that jar, and I don't want to feed it that much. I don't have that much baking to do. I'll just use some of it while it's inactive today in a couple recipes. There will be just a tiny little bit left. I'll feed it, and then maybe I'll make bread or something tomorrow. So back to these biscuits. We've made these before, but they're actually not on my blog. This biscuit recipe is on my blog, but not the sourdough discard version of it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make these, take some pictures, and get them up on the blog. It is a very easy recipe. These biscuits can be finished, start to finish, in 30 minutes. So it's good for Saturday or Sunday mornings when you did not prepare the night before. You don't have time to let something long ferment. I love mornings in general, but especially mornings on the weekend because it's extra quiet and peaceful for a little bit longer than usual. We're just not in any kind of hurry to get started with school. We don't have school on the weekend, so it's just me and the toddler awake at first. My husband likes to sleep in, and I like to let him sleep in because I like to go to bed early. And so, he's the one who will stay up with the kids on Friday and Saturday night and let them watch a movie while I get some sleep. So it just works out so well. So I was just grating up my potatoes there for hash browns. I'm going to make hash browns in a cast iron skillet and show you that you can do that without them sticking at all, which a lot of you probably know that, but it's the best way to make homemade hash browns. Just, it does matter what kind of potato you use. You want to start with russet potatoes. Those are the best, in my opinion. They don't get mushy. And then we'll walk through it in a minute. But what you see here, this is actually smoked sausage. My husband made it, and I don't remember how we discovered this, but we discovered that this smoked sausage actually makes the best gravy. So every once in a while, I will cut some out of the casings and brown it and make the most delicious smoky flavored gravy. It's just fabulous. And he processes all this and smokes it and everything. Okay, so as far as the hash browns, the key, this is just the key to using cast iron in general. You need a hot skillet first. Get your skillet hot. Well, I guess to rewind a little bit, you need your skillet to be well seasoned. I do have a blog post on that if you're not sure what that means, on seasoning cast iron. I'll link that for you guys. But then you need to get it hot before you put anything in it. And then after it's hot, add your fat or oil, whether that is, lard, tallow, bacon grease, avocado oil, olive oil, whatever you're using. Hot skillet, add the fat or oil. Then once the oil is hot, that's when you add the food. And then it doesn't stick. So my gravy, sausage gravy, and hash browns are cooking in the background, and I'm getting this biscuit dough shaped. You saw me folding it. The key to flaky, layery biscuits is you don't want to knead it, not like bread. You just fold it, get all those nice layers. I am going to take a little break to tell you about Wild refillable deodorant and body wash. I absolutely love these natural products, and I know that you will too. Especially the point I'm at where I have children who are getting to the age of needing deodorant. It's really important to me to find natural products that are actually effective, and Wild checks those boxes. If you've ever tried to get your husband on board with like crunchy living, you will know that he's not going to use stuff that doesn't work. And unfortunately, a lot of the natural deodorants and body washes out there, they just aren't quite as effective. But with Wild, you get all the things. So Wild contains natural ingredients. There's no harsh chemicals, no aluminum, no parabens. So it's really great for all skin types, whether you have sensitive skin or whatever you've got going on. And you don't have to compromise on effectiveness because you still get 24-hour coverage. Now, what I really, really love about Wild is their model of sustainability, and all of my homesteading and gardening people, you are gonna love this too because their refills are totally plastic free and they are compostable. So you just purchase your containers once and then you have them, and they have all different kinds of colors, and you can get your initials on there too. So if you've got lots of kids, you might want to do that so they're not stealing each other's deodorant. But then when you need refills, you just place a refill order. You can do one-time orders, or they offer a flexible subscription service and you can save money doing that. But anyway, the refills are totally compostable, so there's no plastic. With every refill, you're going to save at least like 30 grams of plastic. So you get to be a conscious consumer, shop sustainably, and invest in natural products. It is a win-win. Wild will ship your products straight to your door worldwide, no matter where you live. And for a limited time, when you use my code HHWILD, you will get 20% off your order, or you can just go to bit.ly/HHWILD and check it out. Check out all the different scents, read more about the company. You guys are going to love them. So I had a hot skillet in the oven. These biscuits I really like to make in a hot cast iron skillet. I put a little butter in the skillet and put it back in the oven and let that butter brown for just a minute or two in the oven. Then put the biscuits like right into the skillet, and they take 15 minutes to cook. They're so good. You'll see here in just a minute. Okay, so let's get back to this sausage gravy. I do not drain my sausage when I'm making gravy. I just brown my sausage, leave it in the skillet. And you can actually use sourdough discard to thicken up gravies and soups. So that is another way to use a lot of discard if fed your starter too much or whatever, or you just have discard to use. So you would just, pour a little bit into your gravy or soup and it thickens right up. But yeah, I don't drain my sausage because you're getting rid of like all the delicious fat out of there. I just add a little flour or sourdough discard to the sausage in the skillet and then add my cream and milk. And I do like half and half. That's how I make my gravy. Now you see that I finished up my hash browns there. And in the same skillet I cooked my hash browns, I just pushed the hash browns all to the side because they shrink down quite a bit. And then I fried my eggs in that hot skillet. So, working smarter rather than making more dishes. Okay, there's my awkward angle trying to show you these biscuits, but you can see they're very fluffy and flaky and buttery with lots of layers, and that is that folding technique when you're working with this dough. Like I said, don't knead, fold, lots of layers, and it pulls apart, just like the biscuits that you would buy in a can. Okay, so here's the smoked sausage gravy. Oh my goodness, so delicious. So if you have access to smoked sausage, give it a try. I will say it's better when I have raw milk. Everything is better with raw dairy. And I'm not just saying that, you really can tell a difference. And this has been such a dry spell since we haven't had our own raw dairy. Okay, there's the bottom of the biscuit. That's why I like cooking these biscuits in a hot skillet with brown butter. You get a nice crispy bottom. It's not burnt at all, but it's just like buttery and crispy. And especially if you're going to make sandwiches with these biscuits, then it's nice to have like a bottom that's not soggy. So you can actually hold your sandwich together. So my family's patiently waiting to be served breakfast, and I always tell my husband, "You get the model plate," because I load it up, which I load his plate up anyway, but this is his plate. So he likes his eggs over medium, smoked sausage, biscuits, and gravy, homemade hash browns with cheese, of course. Cannot serve husband potatoes without cheese. It is a rule. All right, so we ate breakfast. I'm going to move right along and make one more easy sourdough discard recipe. And while I'm in the process of that, I'll kind of go back and forth and do a couple projects, just a couple things, on my list before baby arrives. And I do want to give you guys an update on the basement cold room. We're a little later getting to it than I thought we would be, but we are getting to it, and I've got some exciting news. So I'm just picking out what I want to use in today's recipe. We are going to be making sourdough discard granola. This is so easy. Once again, another way to use up a lot of discard. It doesn't take much hands-on time. It takes like no skill. If you can measure and turn an oven on, you can make this. All right, so I'm just measuring out my discard. Usually I would just like pour stuff in a bowl, but since this is going on the blog, I've told you guys this, I try to be more precise so that my measurements are accurate for you all. So I started out with some melted coconut oil, some maple syrup, and my sourdough discard. Added all that to a bowl. I'm adding some brown sugar. If you don't want yours to be as sweet, you can actually leave the brown sugar out. I've done that and it still sticks together in like granola clusters just fine. I'm adding some vanilla. I'm going to mix as much together as I can in this bowl before I add my rice cereal and oats. So cinnamon, nutmeg. This is one of those recipes you can get really creative, and I do. So, seasonally, you can do different variations. You can do like pumpkin spice with pumpkin seeds in the fall. There's just a lot you can do. There's so much you can do. And spoiler alert, I want to tell you my surprise. I'm putting sunflower seeds in there now. Today I'm just making kind of like a basic recipe so it can go on the blog. So let me tell you my surprise really quick. Here it is. We got a freeze dryer. It's not here yet, but I'm so excited. It's on the way. I'll tell you more about it when we go talk about the basement. But that will, if you know anything about freeze drying, you can freeze dry fruit and all kinds of stuff, and that will make for some fun granola recipes and combinations. Okay, so back to actually making the granola. Today I'm using a combination of walnuts and pecans, but once again, this is just one of those recipes, you can use whatever you have on hand. Use whatever's on sale, the store, whatever you can find. That's how a lot of my recipes are born. I shop the sales and then I make stuff. I make stuff up. I think, like, what can I make with this? And get creative. So, it's not always a success, but sometimes it is. So you see I'm having to do like the one-legged reach because my belly gets in the way when I reach for things. But just mixing up the granola here. Once again, this could not be easier. If I wasn't filming this, it would take under 5 minutes to, dump all this in a bowl and mix it up. Pour it on a baking sheet. Line your baking sheet with parchment paper or like one of these silicone mats. It will just make your life easier. And then you bake this at 350 for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I've actually taken it out at 20 minutes and let it sit, and it was fine. But I like mine a little bit crisper, so I rotate it after 20 minutes and let it bake for another like 8 to 10. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm going to, while that's in the oven, strip some cloth diapers. These are Ernie's diapers that he had, and I just packed them away without stripping them. So I filled my tub with super, super hot water. The water in here gets like really, really hot. It's like right on the borderline of being dangerously hot. If that were not the case, I would actually boil a pot of water and add that in there to get it really hot. So I just filled my tub with hot water, added a scoop of OxyClean Free, and put the diapers in there. I'll let them sit for 12 hours. We'll come back and we'll check them out. But let's go down to the basement. And you see that my house is a mess right now because you're about to see, we're in organization mode. And we're in the phase where like we've torn everything apart. And we're sorting through everything. And we just haven't gone through it all yet and got rid of it all yet. So, oh, I don't like this phase. But this, it just needs to be done. So I have piles of things that need to be taken to the thrift shop, piles of trash. If you look back here in this corner, this is my food storage area, which I stupidly put by the kids' games, and you can see how that ended up. Basketballs being thrown into my onions. And, it's not their fault. It's just, this is why we need a walled off, dedicated cold room and food storage area, because I don't want basketballs and kids, all over my food. It needs to be contained. But we've got a really good space there. So that corner you just saw with all of the food and the basketball thing, that's where the cold room is going to go. Now we do have 2 deep freezers. I told you in a couple videos back that I got, a deep freeze for Valentine's Day. Well, it's not really mine, but I'm claiming it. But we got this big one. So we've got the stand-up one upstairs. We've got this big one down here and another small one. The small one that was empty, we were just cleaning that out, but it does work. So that's actually going to be our pork freezer, and then the big one's going to be for beef. And then, we'll just keep a little bit of everything upstairs. So that is our freezer situation for now. And if you have a lot of kids, like big kids, little kids don't eat as much, but big kids eat a lot, you'll know that it does actually save money to just go ahead and invest in that kind of stuff and buy or raise your own meat in bulk. So there's my, workout equipment there, and just a generalized mess here, but I wanted to show you guys where we were in the before. So that is the before. And then I'll, kind of share the process as we build this thing and work on the basement. And of course, I'll share the after. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to put my freeze dryer downstairs or upstairs. I started out wanting to put it downstairs, but I really want to put it upstairs now because I think I'll use it more. And I think I'm going to use it a lot. I've been obsessively watching videos, and I'll link the one that I got in the description for you guys if you want to check it out. It's been on my wish list for so long. We'll get back to this in a second. But anyway, I pulled the granola out of the oven, and what you saw me doing is sprinkling cinnamon chips over top. So if you've ever wondered, how do you make granola with chocolate chips or, any kind of chips, well, you don't want to bake it because everything will melt. When you pull the granola out of the oven, then just sprinkle your chocolate chips or whatever over top, and it'll be hot enough to where it'll kind of cause them to melt enough to set. And then when it dries, they'll still have their shape and they will be set into the granola. And another thing is when you're making granola, just resist the temptation to stir it every 5 minutes in the oven. Just leave it, let it set, because you want to be able to break it into clusters so that it's actually, granola clusters. You can break the clusters as small as you want, or you can have big pieces. You'll see in just a minute here. We're letting that cool. We're moving along and just, like I said, checking a couple things on my list. It's funny. When we moved in here, my kids were a lot younger, and I've learned a lot, and I've learned that white is not a good color for boys. And you might think that's funny, duh, but yeah, I just had to learn that, and I've known that for a long time, but it's just taken me time to get around to replacing their curtains. Plus, these white curtains that I had in their room, they don't block the light at all, and as you can see, there are a lot of windows in my boys' room. And at night, there's actually a really bright shop light on one of the outbuildings that shines right in their window. And you know how that is. It's just not as easy to fall asleep when it's not, when you have a bright light shining in your window. So anyway, I'm hanging up some blackout curtains. I went with a nice darker blue color. And since the white curtains had ties on them, they hung down a little bit lower. So these blue ones, you'll see when I back up here, they're a little bit short, but that's okay. I just got on Amazon and ordered some, curtain hanger clip things. I'll put those on the curtain rod, clip the curtains onto them, and that will add the couple of inches length that I need. And yes, it is that important because it will drive me nuts. I'm not a perfectionist at all, and I'm definitely not like a home decor specialist or expert or anything like that. However, curtains hanging off the ground several inches, it just gets me. Now, it had actually snowed on this day or the day before. It snowed on Friday. and we have not had a really big snow here in the Midwest for a couple of years. My kids were so excited, so John took them out and pulled them on their sleds behind our Ranger, and they had lots of fun. So I just took advantage and got some stuff done in the house. I do like to go outside and do that kind of stuff with the kids, but honestly, at this point in my pregnancy, no. I'm gonna stay inside. I'm gonna slowly work on stuff that I want to work on, and that is just going to be that. So you can see what I mean. They're a couple inches short, but yeah, we'll fix that. We will fix that. All right, so my granola has been setting. I usually let it sit just at room temperature for half an hour to an hour, and then just kind of test it out. Make sure that you can break it into clusters without it just falling apart into pieces, and this looks perfect. So I can actually just break it into very large clusters like that if I wanted to, but I'm breaking it down into smaller pieces because we really like to eat this at like basically a cereal in milk or added to yogurt, or one of my favorite ways to eat this sourdough granola is with homemade custard. And my homemade custard recipe is on my blog. It's so good. It's made with egg yolks, and when I have raw milk, that really, really makes the difference. But this granola goes great with like fresh fruit and homemade custard. Now, I made an entire gallon's worth of this granola because we will go through it, but you can easily cut the recipe in half. In fact, on the blog, I'll probably just share the half recipe because most people probably wouldn't need an entire gallon. So if you're looking at the blog, then you would just have to double this recipe. By the way, this is one of my favorite pregnancy snacks. Just very, very good. Some granola, some milk, and some fresh fruit. All right, let's get back to our diapers. So they've been sitting for over 12 hours. And the water's a little bit black, and that's just because the wipes were black. So the water was a little bit cloudy. You could see that they definitely did need to be stripped. So if you have a top-loading washer, you can do this all in your washer and then just let it drain and rinse. But I don't have a front loader, as you see. So I had to just wring things out so I didn't make a mess carrying my stripped diapers to my washer. But I'm now loading them into the washer, and I am going to run them through on just a couple wash cycles, and then I will dry them and be finished. All right, so my diapers have been stripped, and I ran them through the washer twice, no detergent. I just ran them through a wash cycle, and then I dried them in the dryer. Now, normally I would line dry them, but it snowed, and I wasn't expecting that. It was just really, really cold, so I was not going to dry them outside. However, typical Midwest weather, it's gonna be like mid-60s here in a few days. So I'm just gonna keep these right here in the laundry room, and I will run them through the washer on a wash cycle with no detergent again here in a few days, and then I will hang them out to dry because the sun is just an amazing disinfectant and stain remover. It's like more powerful than all the other things. So some sunshine will do these diapers well. And I don't remember if these, like I said, I mostly use flats, but I had some of these fitteds for Ernie. I don't remember if these are size 1 or 2. I won't need them for a while, but they're pretty small. So you never know, babies grow pretty fast. But when I need them, they are ready. They're stripped, they're prepped. And this was yet another thing that I could check off of my nesting to-do list. So we're kind of at the point to where the baby could be here like tomorrow or in 4 weeks. So far, everything is good. Everything's normal. We're just gonna wait and let this baby tell us when she's gonna be born. And that's my guess. I'm guessing she, and I've been 4 for 4. So we'll see if I can go 5 for 5 here. But let's just close this video out with like me nerding out on birth facts that nobody asked for. So when a baby is ready to be born, their lungs will actually signal the mother's body to prepare to give birth. So, a lot of people say like, oh, it's such a mystery. Like when babies decide to be born. No, it's not a mystery really. It's lung maturity and just overall maturity. The baby releases certain compounds that signal to the mother's reproductive system to just start getting things in motion. And actually inside of the uterus itself, there are oxytocin receptors. So oxytocin is the natural hormone that we produce in our body, right? Pitocin is synthetic. So you've heard of Pitocin if you're familiar with hospital birth, which by the way,
Did you guys know that Pitocin is not supposed to be used for induction? That's actually an off-label use. So anytime they use Pitocin to induce a birth, they're not doing what they should be doing. Like, it's not labeled for that. It's not made for that. So that's just a fun fact for you. But you can give a woman Pitocin all day long, but if her baby has not signaled to her uterus to open up those pathways for those oxytocin receptors, so if the receptors aren't there, the Pitocin is just like running into a brick wall. It's not going to make any progress. And so that's where you see ladies who were like, well, shoot, I was 41 weeks, I got Pitocin and nothing happened. I didn't go into labor. Well, your baby wasn't ready. Your baby hadn't signaled your body yet. And that is why that happened. So anyway, long story short, I could go on for a long time. I don't know if you guys know this here on YouTube, but I actually did go to midwifery school. I didn't complete it all. I kind of picked through and left out the like witchcraft stuff. That's not stuff that I'm into at all. And there's a lot of like witchcraft and what do you call it? Stuff that I'm not into. So I skipped through a lot of that, but I like went through the clinical portions. I haven't done an apprenticeship or gosh, the pregnancy brain is crazy. I can't even think of the word, but I haven't like shadowed along with a professional trained midwife or anything, but I've done the clinical parts of it. And there's just so much to learn. It's so fascinating. I love it all. I could talk about it all day, but now I really need to go because I've talked your arm off about something that you guys did not ask me for. So I hope you all have a great day, a great week, and I will see you next week.